Welcome to the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast. Whether you are a seasoned professional or a first-time fundraiser, we have the advice you need to take your next step toward major gift mastery. I'm your host, Tom Dauber, President of Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. I am pleased to have with me on the show today Assistant Vice President of Development, University of Cincinnati Foundation, and a good friend and colleague, Curtis Eat. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Tom, thank you for having me. Appreciate you, and looking forward to this opportunity to speak on your podcast today. You're doing amazing work.
Well, thank you very much. Well, like you've said, it is a fundraising show, and we're going to definitely talk about some fundraising today because you've got a broad experience that I know my listeners are going to want to learn from. But before we get into all that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? How do you spend your time when you're not working? Do you have hobbies?
Tom, so originally from Akron, Ohio, diehard Cleveland Browns fan. I went to undergrad and graduate school at Kent State University. Like many others in the profession, I kind of slipped into fundraising. I studied higher education, administration, but wife, 8-month-old baby. I'm a busy man. So my hobbies include changing a lot of diapers and spending time with my daughter these days. But outside of that, I'm just a sports fanatic. And
that's great.
Enjoy going to live sporting events.
Well, you know a few things about sports. Last I saw that you were inducted into Kent State's Hall of Fame. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got inducted to Kent State's Athletic Hall of Fame in September. And it was an honor. And had so many good times at Kent State. So was certainly appreciative of the experience as a student athlete and being a sprinter on the track and field team. An amazing 4 years there.
That's awesome. Well, and I can't pass this opportunity up as a track and field guy myself. You weren't just a sprinter; you were a 400-meter runner. That's the most grueling sprint. I mean, that's a killer. I've ran quite a few 400s myself. Probably about at half speed compared to you, but man, that's a tough thing, man. I knew when I learned of your history, I knew that you were going to be an incredible fundraiser because it takes an incredible amount of character to run that race. It takes a lot of persistence, a lot of diligence.
Yes, sir. A lot to endure. Although I had a recent conversation with the First Lady of UC football, Beth Satterfield, who happens to be a former track and field athlete.
Ah.
And she ran the 400 hurdles, which we agree.
I'll give you that.
Is the hardest event, maybe the steeplechase in track and field.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. 400 hurdles. Yeah, I'll give you that. Well, tell us a little bit about your professional journey. You mentioned you started out in higher ed, admin there, as far as your degree goes. How did you become a fundraiser?
Tom, I thought I was going to end up in sales in undergrad. And did an internship in the athletic department in academic and student services. And at the time, a woman named Dr. Jennifer Coolix, who led academic services at the time in the athletic department, provided an opportunity to pursue a graduate assistantship. And I was really enjoying the work that I was doing, but really had no idea on what all of that looks like, what all of that entails. I just know that I didn't make much money as a graduate assistant, but really enjoyed working with student athletes in that capacity. After my graduate assistantship was up, I started off in academic and student services at Ohio State, went to University of Cincinnati, had a career before fundraising for several years in undergrad admissions and recruitment. And along the way, I met Dr. D. Robinson, who's a veteran in the field and has worked at some great shops across the country. She was our vice president of development at the time. We would always have conversations about the field, and she was intentional about getting to know me. And one day I was taking a doctoral seminar. She gave a guest lecture. And I remember like it was yesterday. It was a wonderful presentation. And she says, "So are you going to take me up on that coffee and really take an opportunity to learn about fundraising? It's a wonderful career. You would be great at it. You have the transferable skills. Give it a shot. Took her up on that offer. Spent a lot of time with her. Next thing you know, an opportunity presented itself at the University of Cincinnati. Uh, Worked several years, climbed there and climbed the ranks, left, took a detour in Columbus, and I've been back at the University of Cincinnati Foundation in this capacity for about a year. And so the themes for me were just mentorship and guidance. I mean, as a first generation student, Tom, it was just for me going to college and being successful, but had, just like many folks, no idea that I would end up as a professional fundraiser. I just knew that I wanted to make an impact.
Wow, that's a great story. It's neat to hear about people reaching out, building into you, seeing potential. That's such a cool thing. It doesn't happen enough, I think, in our profession.
We have to do more of it.
That's right. Now tell me, Curtis, what are you doing at UC? What's your current role entail? What does it look like to be the assistant VP there?
Well, Tom, fortunate to be back at the University of Cincinnati Foundation. We're a separate 501c3 that supports the university and university health system. An exciting time to be back at the University of Cincinnati is we are an R1 university, top 50 in research expenditures, close to being the top 25 public in research, almost 51,000 students, second largest institution in the state of Ohio, invented cooperative education in 1906. So a lot of things to feel proud about. And so I take my role serious. I have a lot of pride. University of Cincinnati has been great to me.
Tom Dauber here for Abundant Vision Academy. Are you a nonprofit leader who's new to fundraising? Are you feeling crushed by your fundraising goals and not sure how to find success? My online class, crafted from my 25 years of experience and more than 5,000 donor meetings, Abundant Vision Academy will give you the confidence and understanding you need to start building relationships with donors and having gift discussions in just 110 minutes. You'll get 14 videos covering all the topics you need to find success in fundraising. You can take it at your own pace and can watch as many times as you'd like. This is one of the best deals in fundraising continuing education you can get today. To make sure you get off to a strong start in 2024, I'm offering a 50% discount to anyone signing up for my course this spring. That's a $375 value. Enter the coupon code SPRING2024 at checkout to claim your 50% discount. That's SPRING 2024. Head on over to thomas-dauber-s-school.teachable.com and click on Abundant Vision Academy to get your discount today. The link is in the podcast description.
And in my specific role, I oversee college and units. I also carry an individual portfolio. I also oversee our AVPs at the institution have an institutional priority. My institutional priority is inclusive philanthropy. So working with our development team, on different projects and getting us to be organized when it comes to inclusive philanthropy, which is a huge opportunity. And so my units I oversee is arts and sciences, which is the largest college on campus, the law school, and the storied Conservatory of Music program.
That's a big one. I'm familiar with that program down there. In fact, that was in high school. UC was the place I really wanted to go to get into your DAP program. I was going to be a graphic designer, but the program was so competitive that by the time I got my acceptance letter, and I am proud to say I was accepted at Cincinnati.
Hey, you could have been a Bearcat.
I could. I almost was, but I had already gone down the path so far of running track for Bowling Green State University and going into their program. Like, it was already a settled thing in my mind by the time I got the letter. So I'm like, oh, well, don't worry about it. But beautiful campus down there, great people. So you mentioned inclusive philanthropy.
Yes.
Here we are. It's Black History Month. It's certainly top of mind for a lot of people right now, especially in our profession. So you're a Black man. You're working in a profession. It's at least 75%, maybe 80% white and female. A lot of donors. I don't know what the stats around giving are, how that works. But I'd love to hear a little bit from you about learnings, experiences around race, gender. How's that all impacted your experience of working in the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, Tom, it's been a whirlwind, a lot of different experiences. It's like you mentioned, it's not a diverse profession.
Hmm.
I like to think of higher education of a place that kind of values diversity, but in this specific industry, I think we have to value it more. In fact, if you there was a recent survey out there that 60+% of advancement leaders said that yes, we need to diversify our field because it's the right thing to do, and it'll propel our field, moving forward. And so it's been a journey. It hasn't always been easy at times. Had the pleasure of being a part of AADO and other organizations, and being able to connect with colleagues that look like me, that where I find support along the way,
Hmm.
peaks and valleys. But I'd say I continue to persist in spite of the lack of diversity, experiencing implicit bias. I'm focused on breaking through and pulling others up and being a part of the change. And so that's what it's all about to me. Is there's no pride in being the only one. I hate to see these numbers. I want to see more change and more impact on our campuses, and
Hmm.
particularly in this profession.
That's great. Well, if you could wave a magic wand
Yeah,
and make one change to the profession of fundraising, or even into your area there of inclusive giving,
yeah.
what
Well,
would you make? What would you do?
well, Tom, I think one, it's twofold. I mean, you look at our institutions. I mean, we're double digits graduating students,
Hmm.
particularly at PWIs. We're graduating more diverse students
Hmm.
each and every year. The graduations get bigger, the classes become more diverse, um, and so I think about my role. It's we have for a very long time had a maybe a historical, antiquated way to look at data, prospect research, or just our profession, who we solicit, who we spend time with, and so I'm hoping that we change perceptions. I'm actually working with our vice president of inclusive philanthropy. So at the University of Cincinnati Foundation, we have a executive level position on DEIB, right?
Mm.
Who's an expert in the space and looking at inside outside strategies. We're also working with a faculty member in our College of Education who has expertise in higher education, external issues, philanthropy,
Mm.
finance, et
Hmm.
cetera. But we just put together a research proposal to really dig into. We hear anecdotal perceptions about our field, but this research is going to provide us an opportunity to really dig into a couple of our diverse populations, particularly alumni populations, and have conversations and do several research studies from those who give, those who haven't really engaged, those who have capacity to give, et cetera. And we're just hoping to get some themes and some ideas and some strategies so that we can roll up our sleeves and do the work and get this research out to our colleagues on campus so that they can be effective.
Hmm.
And I firmly believe that our pipelines, as you know, that they're shrinking. We want more sustained giving. We have 340,000 alums, and we want each and every one to feel like they're a part of the process, to feel like they're making an impact. And so we have to think and really engage differently in a way that we never had before. And so I look forward to doing some of this work. I'm very passionate about it. And as fundraisers, I mean, our students of all nationalities, genders, ethnicities, they need us to show up
That's right.
differently to support them in their journey. So it's important.
That's great, Curtis. That's fantastic. Well, we've already sort of been talking about organizational change here, things that you're working on addressing. But I'm curious, outside of the DEI sorts of related issues, are there other organizational challenges as AVP that you're excited about addressing?
Well, Tom, much of our work, I mean, at the University of Cincinnati, we've done a really great job of raising more and more dollars. We're coming off a capital campaign at the end of this year, and so I really look forward to rethinking, campaign strategy, finding different ways to engage, getting some new
Mm,
messaging out there, and expanding pipeline. I would say several of our institutions across the country are faced with this challenge, maybe donor fatigue, if raising a ton of money campaign after campaign. So how do you get new people in the pipeline? How do you get more people excited about your institution? Those are challenges that we face. But I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and being a part of that change and coming up with some solutions. And I certainly think DIB will be a big part of it, but leveraging technology, being innovative, listening more,
hmm.
all those things are important.
That's all the time we have today. But be sure to tune in next week to hear the next part of this exciting conversation. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. As always, I'm your host, Tom Dauber. Thank you for joining me as we journey together toward major gift mastery on the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast.